Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series presented by the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA. Catalyst webinar series is a bi-weekly educational platform for creating success and change in your club and career. Very excited to have Casey O'Callahan on the webcast this morning. He's the president of Casey O'Callahan Golf Course Design, Inc. We also have Robin Shelton, SCPGA president and general manager at Newport Beach Country Club in Newport Beach. Robin just went under a extensive golf course renovation that Casey O'Callahan redesigned, and they've been on property there for, I think we talked about the other day, it was just under a year, but it was a very extensive renovation and facility upgrade, and that's going to be the crux of Casey's presentation this morning, talking about the renovation that recently took place at Newport Beach and some other works that Casey's had his hands in over the last several years. Good morning, Casey. How are you this morning? Welcome to the Catalyst webinar series.
Thank you, John. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. We'll take it away. As we talked about in our meeting on Friday, this is Casey's first Catalyst webinar series. This is a interactive Zoom presentation, so all the PGA members that are on the webcast this morning, feel free to come off of mute, raise your hand, chime in, ask a question, interject a comment. We try to make the Catalyst webinar series on an ongoing basis as interactive as possible, and don't be shy is what we're saying. So go ahead, Casey, take it away. I'll interject with questions along the way, and as will the audience, but we're excited to have you on the webcast this morning, and curious to learn about what has taken place at Newport Beach over the last year.
Wonderful. And John, if you don't mind, once we get closer to the end, if you just give me a heads up, I've done a lot of before and after. I may have too much information in here, so if there's a point where we get close to the end, let me know and I can kind of skip through a little bit more quickly, but okay, I'll take it away from here.
Absolutely.
Dynamite. So the presentation is, we're going to review just generally the scope and the work schedule that we had outlined, what the philosophy and the goals for the project were, take you a little bit through the design and planning process that we went through, preliminary design, construction documents, contractor selection, look at construction, and we're going to try to do it in order of how we did the construction and the before, during, and after shots. And then what our takeaways were, what the lessons learned that we came out of after going through this construction. And then I've got a few kind of example projects of what we've done, and I've got questions at the end, but as you said, we can ask along the way. The basic scope of work, we ended up doing a two-phase project, but we did a complete renovation of the practice range. We did the landing area, the tee area, the target greens, the bunkers, and an irrigation system. And then in phase two, we did 16.5 holes of bunkers, 18 holes of tee complexes, 4 green expansions, 3 full green renovations, perimeter landscape, tree removal, and cart path modifications. The reason why we did 16.5 holes of bunkers is that previously, about 2 years ago, we had done an example hole at hole number 7 to give the members and the ownership an idea of what we were looking to do. And part of that was on hole number 6 as well. And so that's why we didn't do those holes during this part of construction. The schedule, and this is the ultimate schedule that ended up. And as I talk, I'll explain how we kind of arrived at this. But in early 2021, we went through preliminary planning and budget to present to the ownership as to what we were looking to do. In May, we got project approval, and then we went through an accelerated schedule. From May to August, we prepared a construction document package and a contractor selection process. And then in October, we spent 1 month fully renovating the practice range. We shut back down, we demobilized, and then we started back up in 2022 in April. And in basically 3 months, we completed the phase 2 scope of work. We talked about different ideas as to what we wanted to achieve with the project, and I'm not going to read this verbatim, but really trying to make the golf course strategically interesting and playable for golfers of all abilities, whether you are a 25 handicap or a single digit handicap golfer. The greens that we were impacting, some of the greens, there've been a lot of renovation over the years throughout Newport with different architects in there, and they had left their stamp, and so what we wanted to try to do is get back to long, broad movements on greens that was part of the original golf course. We wanted to locate the bunkers in the right location, make them kind of interesting and playable, but also we were dealing with accessibility issues for a lot of members getting in and out of the bunkers, as well as the maintenance crew. There was only one way in and one way out of the bunkers. We wanted to enlarge the tees and create different options for various yardages. And then cart paths, this is not a wall-to-wall cart path golf courses. So there's a lot of abbreviated cart paths where they weren't long enough, and it was restricting where the maintenance crew could allow members on and off the cart paths. But then a lot of cart paths were located in really unsightly areas that just kind of stood out too much. And then lastly, adding landscape architecture to a lot of the perimeter areas to kind of screen some of the areas outside the golf course. The ownership had their own kind of set of ideas. They really didn't want to radically change the golf course, obviously spend money wisely. They knew and they know that the irrigation system needs to be replaced. They didn't want to see cart paths. Definitely keep the members happy. And then a big one, and we'll kind of circle back on this, but keeping the golf course open during construction.
When you say, Casey, when you say keep the members happy, does that mean, are you talking about accessibility during construction or not making the course too difficult, or both?
Probably both, John. You know, there's a, you know, they've got a very active membership and they love their golf course. And so keeping it open was one thing, but also just not radically changing the golf course, because they really like their golf course. And that goes into you know, the membership. They love their golf course and they played a lot. And honestly, there was a lot of people, a lot of members who really didn't feel that the golf course needed any change at all. We had originally outlined a schedule that kind of we were able to present to the ownership, is to say, okay, this is a schedule that we think we should move to move through the project. And at that time, we were going to do all the work in one phase of construction. And so during the planning process, the ownership really said, hey, we kind of have a downtime in the fall. We know that contractors are available. We'd like to break this up into two so that we can minimize impact in the spring of 2022 when we do the work. We started with the preliminary design process, and really it's more of a conceptual plan that kind of gave a high overview of what we were looking to achieve. You can see here we're looking at the practice range. We're talking about different yardages. Can you see my highlighter on the screen? Okay. And talking about bunker locations, cart paths extensions, and that really kind of helped to educate the ownership as to what we were looking to do. And then during that process, and it was kind of an evolutionary process where we made some changes, but we looked at, you know, adding bunkers, removing bunkers, but really working closely with ownership on the changes that we were looking to do with the golf course. And then setting a budget, and this is the original budget that we came up with the ownership, and it was, as you can see, it's just under $10 million. And really the ownership came back to us and said, we don't think that a $10 million budget is going to work for us. We don't think we can, for lack of a better term, Robbie, you might chime in, but get a return on investment on a $10 million renovation. So they challenged us to bring the cost closer to $5 million. And really the one thing, unfortunately, that got delayed is the irrigation renovations. And so we did not do a full irrigation renovation. We just renovated the parts of the golf course that were impacted. And the owners are still looking to do that probably in about 5 years to tackle the irrigation system. But we brought that down. We brought the cost of the perimeter landscape down, and we really focused on trying to reach a $5 million budget.
Casey, I'll chime in there real quick regarding the budget process. Those numbers kept creeping up, and it was a discussion of, they just seemed a little more than our original intent. So we said, hey, let's do everything but the irrigation system because, hey, it still works. And it's like the engine on a car, it's still running. Nobody looks at it. As long as the conditions are good, people are happy. So we said, hey, let's do everything that everybody can taste, touch, and feel. So that's why we did everything but the irrigation system.
And then moving on, we moved into the construction document phase of work of really identifying plans that contractors can build the golf course. One of the key steps, and then we'll circle back on this in the end, is really creating detailed quantities of what the improvements were going to be: the square footage of bunkers, cart paths, square footage of greens, the amount of sod we were using, the impact areas. And so we created a hole by hole analysis that really went into preparing a bid sheet for the contractors to bid the project. We identified several golf course contractors to bid the project. Simultaneously, what we also did is identify some talented shapers that we knew we wanted to work with, and the idea being that we brought the shapers on first, and that all the contractors knew that they were going to bring those shapers kind of into their fold and work together on the golf course construction. This is an example of the bid sheet that we sent out to the contractors, and really the idea is that you're having all the contractors bid exact quantities so that we can get an apples to apples understanding of what their costs are going to be. We've got specifications and details that we provide them with, and here's examples. This isn't from Newport, but kind of the process of going for a request for proposal, instructions to bidders, requests for clarifications during the bidding process that lasts about a month. They've got questions on different ideas that are in the plans to make sure that everybody understands what we're doing. And then finally getting the final bids from the contractors and really doing kind of a side-by-side analysis and really understanding if there's any major discrepancies in the bid process, and really kind of being able to kind of understand and see if there's a red flag, and really trying to understand what is the true bid from for the contractor, and ultimately determining who's going to be the best contractor for the project. A big part of what we did leading into construction is coordinating with the contractor and really trying to understand how we can efficiently move through the project and minimize kind of damage to the golf course. There's a lot of haul roads, there's a lot of importing of materials, there's a lot of construction going on, and really trying to keep that to a minimum. And then now jumping into the construction, as I said, it was a two-phase project, and the first phase was back in October of 2021, where we did the practice range. And here's their existing practice range. Hybrid Bermuda on the tees. They've got probably about 7 or 8 green complexes out there that were pretty small, and quite a few small bunkers that were out there. Also kind of a hitting bunker or a fairway bunker off to the side. What we look to do is create longer, bigger, broader movements throughout the practice range, and really kind of going back to yardages that we felt we could have members play from 75 yards to 250 yards. Larger bunkers that were going to be consistent with the rest of the golf course. And then during this process, and this is kind of an iterative process, but we've got 7 target greens out here. And originally we thought we were going to sod all the tee complexes with some form of hybrid Bermuda. And so Scott Dye, the superintendent, suggested that we try different Bermuda varieties on these greens, because these target greens are built to the same specification as a tee. It's a 4-inch sand cap. And so we tried different hybrid Bermudas, but simultaneously coming to the conclusion that we wanted to use Kikuyu on the actual practice range tee. The thought being is that most golfers who are hitting their approach shots on the golf course are hitting off Kikuyu. Why should they be hitting off Kikuyu on the practice range tee? Here's another shot of the construction. Again, just kind of trying to create long, broad movements, good visuals to all the target greens. And then the completed range that was finished at the end of October. Again, we've got 7 target greens out there. We've got a good bunkers that visually set up well for the players. And again, just long, broad movements. So as I mentioned, we demobilized, and the Newport held the Hogue Senior PGA event in March. And then starting April 1st, we jumped into construction. And so the kind of the first area of the golf course was around 15, 18, and 17. And this is a shot of 15 and 18 tees. This is the 15th tee. This is the 18th tee. 15 comes up this way. You can see there's a lot of cart path that's pretty visible. A lot of cart path in the middle that that we were unhappy with. 18 as well plays up this way. This is the first landing area of hole number 15. You've got a bunker on the right. That bunker was really in play for the higher handicap golfer. Most of your better golfers were hitting up into this zone. Kind of a pinched area up at the second landing area with the cart path and the trees. You'll see a little bit of it here. And really a green, this is one of a few greens that was built by Ted Robinson back in the late 80s and early 90s. And Ted did a lot of great work, but he's a lot of places that he touched, he used a style that was very consistent with Ted's style and maybe not necessarily consistent with the style of the golf course. And so there was pot bunkers and kind of these longer bunkers that really didn't tie in with some of the other features on the golf course. This is again looking at the 15-18 tee complex, and now as you can see, we've created one kind of large back tee that was kind of a meeting point, and then a series of tees that work up to the right for hole number 15, a series of tees that work up for 18, and then we've taken this cart path that was out of the middle and moved it over to the side here and out of view of the golf course. And then essentially what we also did is shorten the cart path on this side. Because previously it was on this hillside that really was jumped out and was highly visible.
So that's a shared tee box there for 15 and 18?
That is a shared, so this back tee right here, John, is a shared tee box. And so, yeah, it's actually kind of a neat experience because it's one of those crossover points where you're kind of talking with other golfers on the golf course.
Yeah, fantastic.
The other thing that, and I'll jump into this a little bit, but this is the area where the previous bunker used to be located. And then Robin really, Robin doesn't get enough credit for really knowing kind of just the membership and how they play and what they're looking for. And we made a decision to relocate or take out this bunker and then put challenging bunkers on the left-hand side. You'll see it on the next shot. This is where that bunker on the right was.
Just a second. Can you back up just a second to the previous slide? Where is that? It's always interesting when you move a bunker like that and affect playability. How far is the bunkers on the left now that you put in on 15?
On the 15, I think they're from the back tee, they range from about 265 to about 310.
Okay, so the bunkers that you took out were in that 220, 230 range?
Exactly.
Okay, so was it the philosophy there to not penalize the higher handicapper and make it more challenging for the better player?
Yes, and yeah, absolutely. And we just felt like, in a sense, it's a short, reachable par 5, and it really didn't provide much challenge for the lower handicap golfer, but it provided a lot of penalty for the higher handicap golfer. So,
sure. No, it looks like it. Okay, thank you.
Sure. And so, again, this is where this bunker was removed on the right, and then we've got the 2 bunkers going in on the left. And really our goal with the new bunkers and all the features is just to make sure that they look like they were always there. I'll jump to the green construction, but previously this area was pretty tight. The way the cart path kind of came inside the tree complex, it just felt really pinched. And we really kind of strove to open that area up. We rebuilt the second landing area bunker on the right, did a full green renovation, took out the step that was there, relocated the cart path. And then I think that we're seeing the sand here, but we used a capillary concrete bunker liner for the bunkers. And then you can see some of the final shaping. We've done the green float here, the sand's in the bunkers, and we're probably pretty close, probably within about a week of sodding those improvements. I apologize, I don't have a after photograph of the tee complex. It's I just don't have it. My apologies, but here's a look of the bunkers in the second landing area right here. They're low profile. You can hit a fairly long club to get out of them unless you're at the far end, and this bunker is probably, the second bunker is a little bit more challenging than the first bunker. And then the green complex, the second bunker, the cart path on the right, and then the new green complex. Again, a much more subtle green, a lot more subtlety to this than the previous one. I'm going back to hole number 18 now. And again, this was, you'd seen an aerial view of this. This is 15 again. Here's 18. With the shared tee complex, we're moving now the tee back into this area. What's interesting is you've got these two large stone pines that if you're at ground level, it really blocks probably 80% of the fairway and what you can see. You could only see this one fairway bunker here. Again, you've got a pretty significant cart path right there. And then they've got this beautiful clubhouse that you really can't see until you get to the first landing area. Here's another shot of it, the two large stone pines and the bunker. Another shot of it. And then the green complex. And then again, this is another Ted Robinson green. He's got two pot bunkers in the back and kind of these smaller bunkers in the second landing area. And again, this is a fairly short par 5, especially for a finishing hole. We were able to add about 25 to 30 yards of length on the construction. This is the same shot that you saw before, but here's 18 again. You've got the shared tee, now the cart path's out. And then if you see, this is where the two large stone pines used to be located. And it was a big decision to remove them. As you know, members love trees, but I don't think anybody misses them now, because now you've got this just beautiful, clear, unabated view from the tee complex all the way through the fairway, all the way up to the clubhouse.
Were the trees in that last picture? Were the trees affecting turf growth in that little?
For sure, there's a lot of shade under there, a lot of roots. It was pretty significant, John. Here's a shot of the second lane area. We've got 3 bunkers on the right. We've got 2 bunkers on the left. You can see everything from the tee complex. And then a little bit of the second landing area, the green. Oddly enough, this is the part of the golf course that we started first. In fact, this bunker on the left side of the second landing area of number 18 was the first bunker that we shaped, and then these bunkers. And then Robin, you and I can maybe talk about this, but kind of the best laid plans of bringing together and hiring a shaper and having them work with the contractor. We realized on this first hole that they were having trouble getting it along, and this transpired over about 3 weeks, and it became so difficult that we ended up having to separate them and hire the shapers directly under Newport Beach Country Club. And it was that I would say that would be one of the more challenging parts of the golf course, is that relationship between the shapers that we hired and the golf course contractor.
So with the shaper obviously wasn't the golf course contractors?
No, they're kind of specialty. A lot of golf course contractors have shapers within house, and many of them are fairly good. But really the best shapers out there are the ones who are independent contractors that will get hired on these projects to do some of the work. And then this is the final product. So again, we're about where the white tee is on this on the golf hole, but this is the area where the stone pines, and it really blocked this area. And so now we've got this kind of unabated, beautiful view down the fairway. You can see where the hazards are. You can see all the way up to the clubhouse.
Those were previously blocked by that grove of trees? That's
correct. This is another shot of the bunkers in the first landing area. And then the green complex and the bunkers here. Another hole that we impacted is hole number 10. This is parallel to 18. 18's playing down this way. 10 plays the opposite direction. It's about a 420, 430 yard par 4. What's interesting is you see the 6th hole here on the right hand side. There's a really a prevailing breeze that goes from left to right. And a lot of errant shots end up in this area. And unfortunately, you can see all the, in fact, you can see all the cart wear here. And some of those end up on the green complex, on the 6th green. And again, here's the 10th green. You've got 2 bunkers on the left, 1 on the right. Really, I don't know if it was due to green shrinkage. My guess is that it is, but none of these green bunkers were really kind of married to the green. You know, many of these bunkers were 12, 15, 20 feet away from the green complex. And really, you know, those bunkers really weren't in play or as much in play for the better golfer who's missing the green by 2 or 3 yards, but heavily in play for the higher handicapper who's missing it by 10 and 15 yards. So during construction, what we strove to do is really do 2 things. Create more of a dog leg out of this golf hole. We had room between 10 and 18 to kind of expand or grow the fairway to the left. We removed the fairway bunker on the left that was previously there, and then we created a series of bunkers on the right that that really just kind of are a no-go zone, saying these aren't carry bunkers, these are just bunkers that you want to avoid. So we created a series of 3 bunkers on the left-hand side, tied it in with the shaping and the movements coming off of number 6 green, and really kind of encourage golfers to play to the left. At the green, we rebuilt these bunkers. As you recall, there was 2 bunkers here, and there was 1 bunker here, and then this is one of the 4 greens where we did a green expansion on the back. This is one of the smaller greens, and I would say one of the more challenging parts of the project. These green expansions were difficult, really trying to tie into what the existing grades are and dealing with settling. And I didn't necessarily put this on lessons learned, but I think in hindsight, we would have stripped the sod off of the entire green as part of the green expansion, done these changes, and then resodded the entire green as opposed to just sodding these improvements here. And then again, kind of the final shot. These are the bunkers on the right, another part of them. But again, you can see where we really expanded the fairway and really kind of opened this area up and created kind of a safe zone. It's a longer shot. You've got these small twisted junipers here that almost act as a little bit of a strategic element for the longer golfers. Most of your higher handicappers are going to be back here, but your longer golfers are in here, and they can kind of get in a spot where if they go too far left, they've got these trees to contend with. Hole number 17, which is arguably a signature hole on the golf course. You know, obviously the second to last finishing hole. Again, another Ted Robinson green. There was a kind of a 2-tier, quite a big slope that was in here, a large mound that was here that repelled shots to the left. And previously, over the last probably 8 to 10 to 12 years, we removed a series of palm trees that Ted liked to incorporate on some of these greens, and we removed those. But really, we wanted to create a green that was, as you see, just more playable for your average golfer, but really kind of create some challenge and interest and some interesting pin locations. I apologize. This is a little hard to see. It's a little kind of washed out. But here's the core of the new green right here. We were able to kind of take the green. The front part of the green stayed in the same location, but we were able to kind of hinge the back part of the green closer to the water and really create kind of a challenging back right pin location. You can also see in here, here's the outline of the new bunker. You can see the proposed drain lines that we're going to put in. They're painted out, and the drain lines coming out of the new green and then ultimately down to the lake. Another overhead view. Once we've drained the green, we've got the greens mixed in here, and we've got the new sand. And then finally the new green and that back right pin position.
Casey, these bunkers, did you line them, and did you install drainage?
We did. So we've got 4-inch drain pipe, perforated drain pipe underneath the in the cavity. We used a capillary concrete bunker liner, and if you're not familiar with it, if you think of Rice Krispie treats and the Rice Krispie being kind of large pebbles and then the marshmallow part of it actually being kind of a concrete that kind of holds it together. So it's a very porous surface that you can just put water on it. Water goes right through it, but it minimizes contamination coming up from the bunker edge, and it minimizes any washouts during a heavy rainstorm. The next hole is hole number 5. This is a long par 4, was a long par 4 that played about 440 yards. There's the back tee right here. There's no bunkers in the fairway, and then the green complex here. And we realized that we had an opportunity back on this peninsula to create something special and look at a short, reachable, interesting par 5. Here's a picture of the green complex. You had bunker left, bunker right, and then this cart path here was really highly visible, and it was part of your second shot. A lot of balls hit it, kind of creamed toward the restroom, and it was highly visual from the first landing area. During the process, we always knew that we were going to move the tee back all the way back to the edge, but we weren't sure if we were going to keep the cart path as is. And this is kind of that iterative process where after we finished the first phase of construction, we went back and talked with the ownership and talked about relocating the cart path, adding more bunkers to this golf course. And what was really nice is we had an ownership that was really focused on doing the right thing. And so often doing the right things means spending more money, but they really wanted to make sure that we did this project right. And I can't give enough credit to how they approach this. So again, here's the back tee. Previously, the back tee used to be here. We had a lot of landscape vegetation that kind of screened this area. And then we did end up changing the cart path. The previous cart path kind of came out here, was a little bit more highly visible. We figured with a 2-way cart path and a turnaround, we could really kind of take that out of the view from golfers on the back tee. Here's the first landing area. And previously, there were no bunkers here to begin with. And so it's as an architect and as a contractor and shaper, it's always challenging to kind of put a bunker where no bunker previously existed. It's easier when you've got support mounting or a hill, but in this case, it was dead flat. So we had to bring in dirt, we had to bring in soil, and really try to create bunkers that fit in. Yardage wise, Robin, you might be able to help me out with this, and I might have shown it on the previous slide. I think we were about 250 to reach the first bunker here, about 290, 95 to carry this bunker. And then this bunker is out here in about the 310 to 315 range on the right-hand side.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you can see a little bit, I'll jump to it, but you can see now we've got the green complex here. We've got a series of kind of short bunkers in the second landing area. We tightened up this throat. This was another green extension that we did. And then you can see where the cart path used to be and how we've moved it over to the side. The other thing that we did, and that wasn't visible in this first project, but previously on a bunker renovation that was done in the 90s, they had excess dirt. They created pretty significant mounding back here that was pretty steep and pretty quick, and we wanted to remove those steep, quick mounds out of the equation. So we mellowed those out. And then here's a shot again of the completed work. We put new landscaping back here. We've got the cart path. We've got the tee. And then what's nice is you can see here's hole number 4, which is a par 3 that plays from this direction. You've got hole number 5, a par 5 right here. It really creates, in my mind, this wonderful area of the golf course. And I mentioned it at 15 and 18, but it creates this intimate setting where if you're playing these tees, you're either talking to or heckling your friends who are playing 3 or 4 tee. It really creates kind of this neat area of the golf course that's pretty special. Here's the green complex. I thought I had one. I apologize. I had these out of order, but this is kind of the view from the tees down the fairway. You've got these 2 fairway bunkers on the left that are in the foreground, and then in this picture you can't see the bunker on the right side of the landing area, first landing area, but now you see the bunkers at the green. And then another shot of the green where we've again mellowed out the mounds and really tied the bunkers into the new green complex. Hole number 9 was another one that we made some pretty significant changes. It's about a 400-yard par 4 dogleg right. Previously, there were quite a bit of trees that were in this area. A lot of them were failing. The turf grass wasn't doing well, and over the years, we had taken out a lot of these trees because they were dead and dying. But there was one significant tree right here that again wasn't in play for the better golfer. Most of the better golfers were able to kind of hit it up into this zone and play a fairly low iron shot into the green. But most of your higher handicap golfers were back here and then were completely stymied by that tree. Here's another shot of the tree and the look toward the green complex. Through this process, this was not we originally had not planned on putting bunkers into the landing area of number 9, and we'd always wanted to do it. The ownership was, I think, hesitant to this. This was kind of the third phase of work that we were doing, and I'd like to think that they were more open to some of these changes as they saw the improvements that we had done on the first two parts of the course. And so we came back to them during construction, said, "Hey, we've got an idea that I think can work. Let's look at taking out this tree, and you know how members love trees, but let's add a series of bunkers in here and really create kind of an interesting risk reward cape hole for golfers of all abilities." And so we located a series of 3 bunkers on the right side and then 1 long bunker on the left.
Where was the tree near the first?
It was right here. It was right here. So right in this location right here. And most of your higher handicap golfers were hitting it back here. What's hard to tell in this picture is are these trees are kind of at a diagonal from the direction of the tee shot that's coming in. So really, we felt that if you're, an average golfer, 12 handicap golfer that can carry the ball 230, that this is a bunker here that you might be able to carry and have a shorter shot in the green. If you can carry the ball 260 to 270, this is a bunker that you might be able to carry. And then this one being probably about 290 to 300, if you can carry this bunker, depending on the line that you want to take. So as much as you wanted to bite off, you could potentially have a shorter shot into the green. And then we added a bunker on the left-hand side just for, you've got some people who are hitting 320 that we just wanted to add a little bit more to this, and a bunker that's only in play for the longest of long hitters, but not really in play for anybody else. And this is a shot from the tee complex by a professional photographer. I'm pretty sure the sky's been photoshopped. And we haven't really been able to cut the fairway in here, but you kind of see how these bunkers are stair-stepped in here and the opportunities for hitting different lake shots to get a short shot into the green complex. And then finally, I'm just going to show you a few final shots. These aren't before and afters, but just final shots. This is hole number 1, some of the bunkering that we did on that hole. Back to 3 green, the bunkering we did around that green. This is hole number 11, a short par 4. Previously, there was a bunker here that we rebuilt, but there was another bunker that was directly across. Both bunkers are probably in that 230 range. We took the bunker that was here and shoved it further down the fairway. And what's interesting strategically about that is it really does open up this right side for the higher handicap golfer. But the way that this green slopes pretty significantly from right to left. And so really the best angle or the best approach into this green is from the left side of the fairway. This is a shot of hole number 12. Again, we had, there used to be a bunker here on the right. There was one large tree that really created a double jeopardy situation where you were in the bunker and you were also behind the tree. We were able to remove that tree really more for safety purposes. It was failing and create a more open golf hole. Another shot of 12.
When you say for safety purposes, what safety purposes was the tree removed for?
Well, there was portions of the tree that would shear off or fall. It was a eucalyptus tree, and in any wind, it seemed that there was another part of that tree that was falling, and a portion of that tree had already fallen, and they had taken off that, and so I think that it wasn't balanced, and so it just made sense to have it removed. And then this is the 13th green, and I apologize. I wish I had a before and after shot of the green. This is a green that we completely rebuilt. We had actually slid the green over probably about 25 feet from where it used to be. It used to be located more in this location. This was another Ted Robinson green that had kind of a tiered green, a small pot bunker on the left, and we built more of a straightaway par 3. We actually added a little bit of yardage to the back tee and pushed it back.
You built that collection area behind the green as well?
Oh, I thank you for bringing that up. So that is a little bit of a collection area, and then we decided that we'd add just kind of a fun tee for hole number 14. 14 plays down this way. It's just a small flat area. 14 is already a long par 4. I think from the current tees or the original tees that played 430. Robin, does that sound right?
From the original tee, it was 404, and then from the new tee, it's 473.
473. Okay. So it's more of a fun tee. I don't know. Fun's maybe not the word, but it's not an everyday tee, but kind of an interesting tee to play.
But there's no monument for that back tee location?
I think there is. Robin?
Yeah, there is. So our back tees, so we call them our black tees. Our back tees are now 6820, and then we also have a combo tee. So which would be what do you want to call the difference between black and blues? So we try to encourage our members to play the blue tees at 404 or the combo tee, which has it at 404. That back tee at 6,800 yards total and 473, and this which plays into the wind is really for our really, really good players. I mean, it's you got to golf your ball and be ready to play. It's a challenging hole at 470 in the wind on Kikuyu grass.
But there's tees back there every day, or most every day.
Most every day, yes.
Now, is that a situation where you need to take your driver with you up to that par 3 green if you're playing that back tee? Because it doesn't look like there's any access to it.
There is a cart path is just to the left here. We've tried to eliminate cart paths from view and close to areas. So hey, you don't have to bring it, but we'll play a little quicker if you do bring a club with you.
Kind of similar at Riviera from number 6 green to 7 tee, where it's just all surround cut from the green up to the tee box on 7.
Yes, pretty similar.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, no problem. And so now we get into lessons learned. Robin, if you don't mind staying on, because I think you're part a lot of these, and I can chime in as well. But if you want to go through these, Robin, that would be great.
Yeah, I think the quick bullet points is the behind the scenes tours. So one of the things that we did is as we were doing construction, before construction, myself and our golf pros always kind of gave quote behind the scenes tour. So we took the carts, took them in the dirt, took them under construction, showed the greens being built, walked in the dirt where you see in all the photos, the construction zones. And that really helped give a lot of just excitement because, I think everybody wants to be a golf course architect, members as well. So it gave them a chance to kind of see and ask some questions, and they felt a part of the process. The second thing on there was don't close the golf course, which sounds something that, hey, most people wouldn't want to do. But our owners said, hey, we're keeping the golf course open. And we didn't anticipate that being a big deal, but it turned out to be a huge deal of goodwill. So 2 big reasons the goodwill came in was, one, members said, hey, at least you're trying. You're trying to keep the golf course open. We're still able to play, so we appreciate that. And number 2, every time a member was on that golf course, they were looking over the hole, 1 hole over or 2 holes over, and being like, hey, something's going on. So they got to see the improvements and get excited about it. Now, the next lesson learned on there is short videos. We've got a woman who works with us. Her name is Catherine, and that was kind of her job during this project, was just to make videos. So we sent out videos every week. of what was going on the golf course, what was going on the hole, how it was going to play different. We kind of found that the sweet spot in those videos was, 60 to 90 seconds to make them quick and for people to watch them. And people who either weren't at the golf course or didn't, wanted to look a hole over what was going on, they kind of got to see really close from the video what was happening.
I think I saw a couple of those that you had posted on LinkedIn where it was almost like a live from the Masters kind of thing with you and Casey sitting opposite each other in almost like a talk show newsroom kind of setting. I'm sure the members enjoyed that.
Yeah, I probably spend more time on LinkedIn than anybody should. But yeah, we did videos of interviews. We did videos of the golf course with the construction crew, before and afters, educating as well. So they took on all different themes, and it seemed to go really, really good for us. The next thing on there is just say create a one-page summary sheet. Casey did an incredible job putting together a bid document or a bid package. And I think one thing that would have been helpful for us was to have a one-page summary of the main highlights. So everybody was 100% on the same page. I think the bid document and the scope of work might have been 30 pages long. And things get lost in there. And that was, I think, one of the challenges with our contractor, subcontractor, and bunker shaper was to say, hey, here's very clearly what we're looking for. And here's very clearly, what the guidelines are on the really, really big stuff. The next thing on this is open holes over time. I think a lot of people do open everything at once and do an opening party. Everybody that we talked to that did an opening party and opened everything at once said it was kind of a bust. Because if you do a shotgun, not everybody can play in it. If you do tee times, only a few people are going to watch everybody tee off. So we just said, hey, once it's ready to play, let's open it. And I think that got a lot of goodwill as well. It just members said, hey, you're trying to get us on the golf course. And doing the right thing by the golf course, but not making it more challenging or inconvenience for us. This change orders, it seems pretty obvious. But one of the things that we could have done a better job of, specifically me, was to do a better process on managing our change orders. So we did, when you're doing a project of this size, and we did our project in 3 months, where most people said it would have taken 6 months. We had 100 different workers at maximum on the day. And when you're trying to get things done fast, all of a sudden you're like, hey, we're going to make the bunker bigger. We're going to add a bunker. We're going to subtract a bunker. We're going to change the cart path, add cart path. That, those change orders add up. And next thing you know, hey, if your contractor doesn't give you a price quickly, and he's like, hey, I'm busy, we're moving on to the next thing, you kind of lose track of all of those. So that happened to us where we made some changes. We said, hey, we're going to do this. Hey, give us a price. And I was not quick enough or didn't press enough to get those prices in as we went. And then last, go ahead, John.
Well, it was me. I was going to say the last one I added to the list that you gave us, Robin, is document quantities in planning. And that ties in a little bit with the change orders, but knowing what our quantities were when we went in, we end up GPSing or surveying all the improvements at the end, and really, that saved us quite a bit of money, because we realized that our quantities were more in line with what we were planning, as opposed to what was potentially going to be what we thought might be a significant overage in cost, ended up being quite a significant savings.
Yeah, one of the things that we had gotten from our contractor was, hey, you're projected to be $200,000 over what kind of was our, month ahead, 30 days to completion of project. He's like, hey, you're going to be 200 grand over. And, that put us on a little bit of panic. And thankfully we had good backup information when Casey did the planning documents, so we could go back and say, hey, we actually show us being 200 grand under. So that was important to have those good documents, or those good planning documents to go back to say, hey, something doesn't seem right. So that's a big deal as well. And I think that's something that Casey does really, really well. And if you talk to anybody who's worked with, to say Casey's plans are done really, really well. They're really accurate for the scope of work and what's going to be needed. So I think that's something that Casey does really, really well, and it swung us $400,000 at the very end.
Now, guys, how much? I know the two of you have worked together at Mountain Meadows in the bunker renovation there 7 or 8 years ago. Actually, longer than that. These time's marching on. I know that there was obviously a tighter budget there, a much smaller scale of activity. If you don't mind talking about it, how much was the all told renovation ballpark?
6 million, and we were very fortunate because when we went to bid on this, in the summer of 2021, and that was kind of before the inflation spike. So had we done it, had we gone to bid or used 2022 summer pricing, we would have been at the $7 million mark.
That's a little higher than the $700,000 bunker reno at Mountain Meadows. So actually, just to back up to talk a little bit about Mountain Meadows, when you did the bunkering there, did you line those and put drainage in those as well?
We put drainage in there, but we did not put liners in those bunkers.
Because I know, Casey, when I was in the desert, we had talked about the bunker renovation at Monterey, and with the sand cap that's out there, you don't need liners so much, and you don't need drainage because of the sand base. Obviously, that makes a big difference when it comes to pricing.
Sure.
Who was the contractor that did Newport Beach?
It was Integrity Golf Construction.
And had you worked with them before?
I had. I've done. They've done quite a bit of work for us. So there were some challenging parts to our relationship with them, and I think, Robin, if we kind of said if we had to do it again, I think we would work with them again.
Yeah, I think nothing goes perfect, right? I mean, you figure out your team at your club or anybody, even family, right? You don't agree on everything, and you have discussions, and some things go as planned, and some things don't go as planned. But hey, all in, they did a good job. They did good work. We were on time, and had a good communication. There were some challenges, but that would be everything. I don't think anybody's ever been on a project and was like, man, all of these contractors got along perfectly. And all of these subcontractors were so nice to work with, and they agreed on everything. And so we had a little speed bump, but we got through it, and we navigated it. And but yeah, I think they did good work, and we would use them again.
Yeah, and two things. They had a really good on-site superintendent that was dedicated and wanted to do the right thing, and really kind of was the glue on holding a lot of the different kind of entities together. And then also, I with at the end when we came down to the $400,000 swing, they owned it. It wasn't like we had to battle them and try to convince them. We presented them with the information, and they were very good about it. So hats off to them.
And the turf that was used for the greens?
We actually created two things. One is we saved the greens when we demolished the greens at 13, 15, and 17. We took that sod and we put it off to the side and kept it in the shade and babied it while the green was under construction. And then we needed a little bit of extra sod for those greens as well as the green extensions. And previously, Scott Dye had created a turf nursery the year before and used aeration plugs from aeration to establish that green. So we really wanted to make sure that we got a similar green or turf type that we had on the other golf greens.
So you recycled and salvaged the in-house Poana.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And then what about the sod that you used in the fairways where needed?
We purchased, I think, almost all of it from West Coast.
Kikuyu?
Yeah, sorry, it's Kikuyu. And then we ended up making the decision. I think I'd mentioned that we were going to try out different tee types or Bermuda types for the tees. Once we saw how well the driving range tee did, we decided that we wanted to sod all the tees throughout the golf course in Kikuyu. So we purchased that sod from West Coast. It's interesting. I know that I've done this. This is a much larger project. Often if you can harvest sod from on site and reuse it, even though they're both kikuyu, the sod that you're getting from on site is really acclimated to that soil and that temperature. Whereas if you're bringing it in from the desert, there's a little bit of a learning curve for the kikuyu to kind of get acclimated. So, but yeah, we purchased all the kikuyu from West Coast.
Now, Robin had mentioned, I saw Robin earlier in the week, and we had talked about the decision to go with the kikuyu tea. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the motivation was for that and the challenges with using a kikuyu tea versus a Bermuda?
Robin, you want to take that one? I'll chime in.
Sure, I'll start. So we had before, our tee boxes were very small. They were rounded, not as a knock. They were just that very traditional Ted Robinson kind of elevated tee, small tee, very round, and they had gotten crowned. So that was a big reason for the need for the project. And then as we were doing this, and our tees were kind of a Bermuda that was overseeded with rye, and they were probably 50% rye year round. Like they never got there. Second piece of it, we also do the Hogue Classic. So we got to make sure the tees look good on TV in March. So we throw extra rye seed down kind of before the tournament. So it was they never really transitioned out. So as we started, we were like, hey, what are we going to do? And we were originally planning about Bermuda tees was our original discussion. And then it led to, hey, are we doing round shaped tees, circular tees? Or are we doing square tees with borders? Because so that way the kikuyu wouldn't grow into it. And we went round and round and round, talked to other courses, talked to other superintendents. And then somebody once said, why would you plant Bermuda grass on a kikuyu farm? It's like everything is kikuyu. Why would you do that? And it really got us thinking. And then we called around to a bunch of other courses that had kikuyu and Bermuda tees, or were a kikuyu golf course that went to Bermuda tees, and was like, hey, what would you do if you had it to do all over again? And 6 out of 7 golf courses that we reached out to that had kikuyu and Bermuda said, hey, I would do kikuyu range tee and I would do kikuyu tees. So we went with the kikuyu tee on the driver range to kind of test it out, and it worked well. And then we kept going on with the tees and did those as kikuyu, and it's been well received.
Yeah, that's amazing. Because I mean, if you could, in my club here at South Hills, it's the same thing. If you could keep one year round and just go with it, when in terms of the tee boxes, it's so much better. So we stopped overseeding the tee boxes with rye and just let them go Bermuda, and you got 2 bad months, based on where we are in the San Gabriel Valley. But that's fantastic, because it's really great that you've got the driving range and the tee boxes, the same turf and the same height of turf that you have in the fairways. So it's the consistency. I commend you on doing that. And Robin, forgive me for asking you this question 4 or 5 times over the last week. I just couldn't get my head around a kikuyu tee, but it makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I think luckily we had a long time to think about it and prepare for it. That is, we all originally were like, what? I told our owners, they were like, what? Why would you do that? And then as you just because nobody's done it doesn't mean it's the wrong reason. But we had gotten, like I say, the more we just thought about it, we're like, hey, logically, everything on our golf course is kikuyu. Our members love our kikuyu fairways, and we don't have to overseed. And the thing that kept playing in the back of at least my mind was, why would you plant Bermuda on a kikuyu farm? And everywhere you looked on our old tees, kikuyu just kept coming in, and every superintendent's like, hey, you can't win. So
I guess
we've been happy with it.
It's more of a maintenance question, but I guess the challenge down the road will be to keep it thin enough and to keep it from getting spongy and too bushy. I guess that's more of a maintenance practice, but those are all the questions that I have. A couple comments that have come in from the audience. Jerry Sweet Willis was down there at Newport Beach last week, he said, and just really commends you guys on a beautiful job, well done. Said in particular, the 17th hole is amazing. It's night and day, and just wanted to extend a kudos and a congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, that's all the time we have this morning. We're actually over a little bit. On behalf of the Education Committee for the Southern California PGA, we'd like to extend our gratitude to Casey O'Callahan for putting together this presentation and sharing his expertise with the SCPGA membership. Robin, thank you for joining us as well this morning and allowing us to come to your club this morning and see all the great stuff that's happened. I would imagine that you're going to get a bunch of emails and phone calls over the next month or so of PGA members that are going to be looking to come out and play.
Well, hey,
But
we do have,
thank you guys.
we are hosting the annual meeting on December 12th, so that would be the chance. December 12th for the annual meeting. We are hosting the mixed team tournament in February, which I think is February 12th, the member female team piece tournament.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for supporting the Catalyst webinar series, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, John.
Appreciate it, Robin. Thanks.